A lot of people are charitable minded, and every week they show up at their church, or they give to an annual missions work, or they give to a charity downtown or something like this, and they just do it out of their checkbook.
Yep.
But they are already over 70 years old. We're telling them, stop writing checks.
Yeah.
Let the IRA or the 401k gift that money. You do it completely tax-free.
We've been doing this for 20 years and serving hundreds of families.
We're going to bring solutions to your situation.
How do you choose a financial advisor? How do you know who you should
That's
work
the
with?
value of that 210 core, moving everything towards a purpose on purpose.
Welcome to Your Retirement Blueprint Podcast, the show that empowers you to live a life of financial confidence so you can live your best life today. My name's Kendall Stahl, host of Your Retirement Blueprint Podcast, alongside Mr. Phil Cooper. How you doing today?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Got some big things coming.
Yeah,
right?
we do. It's exciting, yeah.
It is kind of season 2. So we are going to roll out a little bit of a new format for the podcast. And so we're hoping to have some guests on, right?
Yeah, we are. You were telling me about some of this pretty exciting stuff, right?
Yeah.
Some people are going to bring some real value to our listeners, and maybe not always in the financial sector, but they've got some things you're going to want to tune into this year for sure.
No, that's correct. So things that apply to the financial industry, maybe a few things that don't.
Mm-hmm.
The goal, although don't hold us to this 100%, but the goal is to kind of do every other. So, you and I do one kind of topic specific, and then bring on a guest and talk about whatever it is, things like maybe hopefully an attorney to do some estate planning stuff, maybe a tax type of a podcast, CPA, something like that. Talking with an insurance guy, so like home insurance, different things like that.
Wonderful. I look forward to it. It'll be
Right,
a good
sounds
year.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another big announcement is you are a published author.
Wow. What do you think of that? I had teachers in high school who probably didn't think I could read the book, let alone write the book, right?
I know.
I want to tell you a funny side story to that whole before we get onto the book thing. So
Yeah.
I had a guidance counselor in high school, and my junior year, you're supposed to be declaring what you want to do after your senior year. And I met with him, and he said, Mr. Cooper, what would you like to do next year? And I told him, I said, I'd like to do this. And I stated my career choice, to which he said, you might want to rethink that. Because
Had no faith in you?
my grades did not live up to what he thought I should be doing. So I said, you know what, I'm going to show you, buddy. I'm going to go out and do this thing. And so
Here you are,
here
a published author.
I'm a published author. I wish he was around to see this today. But yes, I'm a published author. So I put 25 years of my work, my life's work, down on paper. And we call it the Retirement Blueprint, living or fighting your 210 life. And in there is not only strategies that we talk about on how to live your best life. It talks about my story and what got us to this point of my life. And I want it to be inspiring. I want it to be educational. But I want it to be motivating enough to for those that are reading it to take action. And it also talks about what 210 is if you don't know that story.
That's right. So we'll be able to put a link in the show notes for you to go get, I think, at least the first chapter that is downloadable. And then if you would like your own copy, you can just send us an email and we'll get that sent out to you.
Absolutely. You bet. I'll even sign one for them.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I have a signed copy.
Or they could
yet.
go to Amazon and just buy one, and that feeds my children,
Yeah.
So, but if you don't care about feeding my kids, I'll give
If you want a free one, let us know. If you would like to contribute,
you donate to the grandson fund, then you would go to Amazon and buy the book. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, man. Good deal. Well, today we are getting towards the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to get cold out, right? Thanksgiving will be here before long.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a good time to talk about year-end stuff, right? So when I think about year-end stuff, I think about tax planning, right? Some of that is year-end. Some of it might roll into the next tax year. Charitable giving, all the year-end things. So I think that's what we're going to discuss today.
Okay.
Whenever I talk about our retirement blueprint financial review process, tax planning is always kind of the third one in line. And but I do think it's probably one that can move the needle more than the other areas of planning that are out there.
Yeah.
So no matter your situation, right? I think definitely need to look at it.
I agree with that. We've all been way back. We were all taught that we should put our money away into these tools like 401ks and IRAs that the theory behind that was when you retire, you can take some of those dollars out and spend them because you're theoretically going to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement. And we're finding out that's just not the case.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is saying it's time to tax plan. Now, the IRS has mentioned very clearly in the IRS code, we have to do this between January 1st and December 31st, which is why Kendall's saying it's the end of the year. We need to do tax planning.
Yeah.
And so between now and December 31st, we have got to strike that iron, because if we don't, we miss that opportunity and a whole year rolls by that's lost for tax planning. The reason that's critical is because we believe the taxes are probably as cheap now as they're ever going to be in the future.
Yeah, we will come back to that in a second. But I do think there are probably some things that you can do after the end of the year, but you definitely need to look at it before the end of the year and figure out, like, let's put a little bit of a game plan together.
Yeah, you need a direction.
Figure out
Absolutely.
which way we're going. You know, if you're still working, you can contribute to stuff to either help or hinder, whichever way you want to look at it, your tax liability and different things like that. But sitting down, going through things, figuring out where you're at for the year, and making some sort of plan, I think is crucial. But yeah, so you brought up taxes are going up, right? End of 2025, or I guess I should say that differently. Beginning of 2026, taxes are going up from where they are now to where they were the end of, what is that, 2017?
2017, yeah. So we think they're going up. I mean, here's the way it's supposed to go right now. So 2017, there was a tax reduction put into place, which is, well, that's unusual to hear anymore, right? Tax reduction. But it was an 8-year break. And we wound up in the 8 cheapest income tax years of my entire working career. I'm 54 years old. So I'm paying less in income taxes now than I have my entire life on a percentage basis. And you probably are too.
Right.
Doesn't feel like it. Feels like we're being taxed to death, but it's on sale right now, and it's set to expire on January the 1st of 2026. Now, could they push that thing down the road? Could they kick it down?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. Congress can do whatever they want to do, right? But if they don't change it, it's going to go back to where it came from in 2017. Number one was higher. That's not so scary. Here's the scary part. They're going to inflation adjust every one of those 8 years of tax breaks they gave us. Well, my question is, where did inflation go? We went through the roof. So where do we think taxes are going? In 2026, we think they're going to be considerably higher than they are now. So what should a person do? Consider making a tax plan.
Yeah.
How do we start paying some taxes now where it's on sale and preserving yourself or protecting yourself from when that day comes?
Yeah, I think I'd like to, typically at our firm, we focus in on the folks that have saved the dollars already. They have big buckets of money that they haven't paid taxes on yet. They got a partner in the bucket, and unfortunately that's Uncle Sam, right? And he kind of gets to pick how much of a partner he is.
Yeah,
I
have a business proposition for you.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to make a business proposition to you. I think I've done this before, and you turned me down. We'll see if you're back in on the game yet, all right? He never takes my business deals. Here we go. Here's the business deal I'm offering Kendall live on worldwide
You heard
TV.
it here
You
first.
heard it here first. Kendall, I want to go into business with
I have
you.
a good feeling about this.
I'm your father-in-law. Trust me, all right?
Okay.
Would you go into business with me if I offered you this deal?
Okay.
You and I are going to split
All right.
the cost, the risk, the gains, the losses. We're going to split it all 50-50.
Okay.
But
I have to do all the work, or?
we're going to split the work too.
Okay.
But I maintain control of the rules of our relationship.
Okay.
So in other words, we're going into this thing 50-50, 50% profit, 50% loss, 50% work, everything. But a year down the road, if I change my mind and I go, nah, I'm only giving Kendall 10%. I'm not giving any more of your money back or anything. Would you take that deal?
I might consider it because you're my father-in-law and I do trust you, but no, I don't think I would take that deal because I am a bit of a control freak.
Okay.
And I like to be in control. And so no, I wouldn't let you have all control of that.
All right.
Let you decide how much of a partner I am.
Well, right now, that's what we have in front of us with anyone who owns an IRA
Yeah.
or a 401k. Their partner is the IRS. And what does the partner get to do? Change the rules of the game anytime they want to. And you have lost control of that. Today, we've got a control.
Sure. Yeah. So
There again, he shot me down again.
Yeah.
Still not going to do this thing.
still no business deals together.
All right.
So I think that the point is, if you got money in IRAs and 401ks, we need to have a plan. You always say there's a tax train coming down the tracks and we need to get you off of it. I think what most people do is they look backwards and they say, okay, how do we minimize our tax bill for today? And I think at our firm, we think pretty differently. And I think we're trying to promote you should think differently too, and the fact that you need to look forward and you need to think about what are your taxes going to be over your lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a tax plan is looking through the windshield, trying to figure out what the tax horizon is out there and how to avoid it, where tax preparation, we all do every April, that's looking in the rearview mirror, seeing what last year was
That's
like.
brilliant. Why haven't you ever said that to me before?
I can't give it all to you at once, man. I got the rest of my life with you. I got feed
Here's
you
the
this
point.
way.
Look
Feed
through
you
the
this way.
windshield,
You gotta
not the
look in
rear view mirror.
Rearview mirror is yesterday. We got to look
It's
out
life advice
out the
too,
front.
right there. So, so what do we do about it? Like, the big thing, the easy thing is Roth conversion. So for those of you that don't know, we got a bunch of money in an IRA or a 401k, and we got to take dollars out of those buckets and pay taxes when we do that, and then get them into buckets of money that are tax free, which would be like a Roth IRA or Roth 401k, right?
Yes, right.
And I think that, so there's a couple of things here. I've run into this lately. There's a difference between a contribution and a conversion, right? I've talked about this before, and people are like, well, this sounds great. Let's take dollars from an IRA. Let's put it in a 401k. Let's pay our taxes now while they're on sale, and then let them grow tax-free for the rest of your life and some of your beneficiaries' life too. And people have said, well, that's great, but I can only do that at $6,500 or $7,500 a year.
Yeah.
So the difference is contributions, there's a lot of rules to the game, whether it's how much you can put in, what your income is, different things like that. Conversions, taking money out of an IRA and putting it into a Roth IRA where dollars grow tax-free, it's kind of the Wild West.
Yeah, it's unlimited.
Yeah.
No income limitations, no amount you want to do per year. It's just a matter of how much tax you want to pay.
Yeah.
What we don't want to do, we jokingly tell people in our offices all the time, what we don't want to do is get your face at the IRS as customer of the month. That's not our goal.
That's the goal.
So we have a strategy. We have a plan that says we can take it from this bucket, IRAs and 401ks. We can move it to this bucket, a Roth IRA. Over here, if taxes go up, these dollars are protected. But we want to do that very strategically and very systematically to make sure we're keeping you in the lower tax brackets.
And sometimes you can combine those with some different strategies that can help you a lot tax-wise too, which we can come back to in a minute. But I think that the person that really, like, I think everybody needs to look at it, right? Like, if you got money in IRAs and 401ks, they need to be looking at this, see if it makes sense. But the person that really needs to look at it is that person that, retired at 65 and worked somewhere for a long time, got a pension, got Social Security, kind of lives a normal Midwestern lifestyle, lives within their means, and that somebody told them, hey, throw some money in a 401k while you're working because we're going to match you. And then all of a sudden, they retired with his pension and Social Security and $1 million in their 401k.
They're never going to spend it.
And they're never going to use it because they don't need it. And they're like, why would I take money out of there and pay taxes on it? The reason what you need to be doing is going down the road 10 years and saying, okay, there's this thing called required minimum distribution. That's going to happen sometime now. They keep changing the rules on it.
That's moving target,
So in your 70s, right? What's it going to look like? Are you going to, when you are required to start taking dollars out of that bucket, what does that do to your tax situation?
Yes, an uncontrolled amount of taxes. Wherever the taxes are going to be at that time, what the tax bracket's going to be, plus all of your income equals what you're going to pay, and it could be a lot.
Yeah. And then if someone's married, this whole tax planning thing works a lot better when you're both still here.
Sure does. Otherwise, the remaining spouse is filing at a single tax rate, which is considerably higher. Or the other person that ought to be looking at that is someone like me.
Yeah.
That loves the thought of leaving something to the next generation.
Right.
Which would be you. And I'm going to go around you and leave more to your boys than I am to you, just so you know.
Okay, that's fine.
Now, here's the concern that I have with that. And this
just don't ruin their lives with it.
I promise not to. I'm going to ruin yours, but I won't ruin theirs. Yes. So here's my concern. So if I have saved up money in my bucket called a 401k or my bucket called an IRA, and I say, okay, I'm never going to spend that. I've done well in other places, and maybe I've got enough income in retirement through Social Security and pensions and other things that I have that are paying me.
Right.
I'm going to leave this bucket right here to my two grandsons.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. The problem is those two grandsons have a partner in that too called the IRS, and
Correct.
that partner is going to want their taxes. Now, here's the thing. Let's make up a number.
Okay.
Let's say that my bucket of IRA and 401k is worth $1 million. Now, if you don't have $1 million, don't tune me out. This works if you have $1 in there, but watch me for a second. If my $1 million bucket, if I pull that out today, I will owe taxes on the $1 million.
Right.
If I let it grow for 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, however many years the Lord gives me, and maybe there's $2 million or $3 million in the bucket, my grandsons will owe taxes on $2 million or $3 million, a lot of money. So now if I can take that $1 million and I can get it out of this bucket today, and I can make it go over here to a Roth IRA. I do it systematically. I do it very strategically, and I get it over here. Now I've got $1 million in this bucket that will never be taxed again. And as it grows to $2 million and to $3 million, not only is my $1 million never going to be taxed again, the growth of it will never be taxed. I am truly leaving all of that money to my grandsons. It's a great legacy play.
Okay, so legacy, works great for legacy too, but I learned this term recently called cowboy math.
Cowboy math. Okay. Tell me about this.
All right, so cowboy math basically is a nice way of saying we're going to use some big round numbers, okay? And it may not be exactly the same for your situation as it is mine, right? So I think obviously it goes without saying that, we are not CPAs, right? You need to, obviously we're going to come up with a plan with this tax planning thing, but when it comes to signing on the dotted line, it's the person that's doing your taxes, not us, right? So there's a disclaimer, but cowboy math. So the person, I've been doing a little work on my own. I haven't told you about this. Okay. The person that is 65 years old, and has that pension, has that Social Security, and has $1 million in their 401k. All right. And they don't need to take any money out of that $1 million because they got plenty of income to live on. Okay. If they are 65 years old and they have $1 million, and they would probably have to start required minimum distributions at 75, right? So there's 10 years there. That $1 million turns into what in 10 years? Hypothetically,
$1.5 million, $1.7 million, $1.8 million, something like that.
We'll use $2 million.
$2 million. $2 million.
Because it's cowboy math.
All right.
Okay.
We're going big.
But I mean, if you use the rule of 72,
it's going to be there.
It's doable.
It's going to be there in 10 years.
Few things got to go right, but it's doable. Okay. So now we got $2 million and we're 75. So we went from 65 to 75. Dollars went from $1 million to $2 million. And we got to start required minimum distributions. For those of you that don't know, RMDs, or as some people call them, MRDs, which really threw me off on the phone today. I was like, what is an MRD? Starts at about 4% roughly of whatever's in the bucket, right? It's a little different for men than women because of life expectancy, but just think 4%. So, Mr. Math Whiz, 4% of $2 million is $80,000. That's going to change your tax situation quite a bit.
Significantly, yes.
Okay, so we're still doing cowboy math.
All right.
Big round numbers.
All right.
Going to be different for you than they are for me. But if we start RMDs and we take $80,000 a year out for 15 years, so we live till age 90. Okay, so from 75 to 90, we take required minimum distributions out. And we pay the taxes. We add all that tax up.
All right.
So, and then you pass away.
Okay.
And you add up the tax that the kids or the grandkids, in your case, would pay on that bucket of money. You got any idea what all that taxation would add up to?
$2 million over a lifetime. I'm going to take a wild stab.
Okay.
I'm going to say $500,000.
You're close, but you're under.
Really?
So, again, different for everybody because everybody's income's different and whatnot. So there's a lot of variables there. But it'll equal really darn close to whatever that bucket was worth at 65.
You're telling me if I had $1 million bucket, and I'm going to eventually let it grow and do my thing, pay my taxes as I'm alive, I live a normal life expectancy, and then leave it to my grandchildren. And then they're going to be responsible for the taxes that I didn't pay.
Yep.
They're going to pay the same $1 million that it was worth when I was 65 years old.
Yes, but let me clarify. The tax you're paying in your lifetime from 75 to 90, and then the taxes that the beneficiary pays, add them together. It'll be close to, within shooting distance,
what it was at 65.
So that's why tax planning is so important. like if you could move that 10%, there's a pretty big chunk of
Very
money.
much money. You bet.
20%, 30%, whatever it adds up.
Yeah, that's
So-
huge. There again, it solidifies our thoughts on
Yeah.
you need a plan.
So level 1 is kind of Roth conversions, what we've been talking about. Level 2 is, I guess, I'm kind of just making up level 2, I guess, as we go here, but, charitable-minded folks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can be done there. So dollars in an IRA or a bucket of money that you haven't paid taxes on yet can be given away tax-free in that non-for-profit, or I guess technically speaking, a 501c3 can receive them tax-free, and you don't pay taxes on them, and they don't pay taxes
But
on
it
them.
does satisfy your requirement to the government.
Yes. So you can't do that till you're 70, though,
Correct?
right?
Correct.
So at 70 and a half, you can start giving dollars away out of that bucket tax-free. You don't pay taxes on them, they don't pay taxes on them. And it makes the IRS happy, satisfies the required minimum distribution.
Huge tax play. A lot of people are charitable minded, and every week they show up at their church, or they give to an annual missions work, or they give to a charity downtown or something like this, and they just do it out of their checkbook.
Yep.
But they are already over 70 years old. We're telling them stop writing checks.
Yeah.
Let the IRA or the 401k gift that money. You do it completely tax free.
So let's just use the scenario I just used. So the 65-year-old that had $1 million at 75, he was going to have to take 80,000 out, right? Which those are, big numbers, but very much a thing. So he could give $40,000 out of that IRA to his church or whatever non-for-profit it is him or her likes to support, and then he would still have to take $40,000 out to satisfy the required minimum distribution. But it doesn't. But you only have to pay taxes on 40 instead of 80.
Yeah, whatever you do through something called a qualified charitable distribution, it is zero tax to you, zero tax to the non-for-profit that's receiving it, but it satisfies that piece that you've given away, that satisfies the government that you've taken it out and you don't have to pay tax on it.
So my guy that's 65, he can't give any money out of his IRA till 70, so there's 5 years there. So and this doesn't work for everybody. You got to have a few resources to do this, right? So say he's given $20,000 a year, so 20 times 5 is $100,000, right? So he's 65 years old. If we could come up with $100,000 somewhere that's not in an IRA, we could lump that into what they call a donor advised fund. You can get a big tax write-off for that all in 1 year, and then you can control that donor advised fund, so you can give dollars out of there for those next 5 years at $20,000 a year.
Or don't give them out in the next 5 years, and you can do it when you're dead.
Yep.
But you get tax break now.
Yep. And then at 70, you can pick back up whatever it was you were doing. So if he was going to give $20,000 a year, you do it all at once, get a big tax write-off, you give out of the donor advised fund. 70 comes along, now we just pick back up. We start
switch
giving
it
our
over to the
$20,000 a year.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tax plan.
So if you're charitable minded, the tax planning thing can really, that's simple. There's a lot more things that can be done, right? But you start putting a couple of different scenarios together, it can
be substantial. It can be really substantial. When my daughters found out that you could give money to charity tax free, they both wanted me to change their name to charity.
Charity, yeah.
Yeah. Then give it to
Your
this.
children are not.
They are not charities. They feel like it.
They're not a not-for-profit, but they
are very much not-for-profit. They're very much not-for-profit, but you don't get a tax break giving it to your kids.
What else do we need to be talking about for taxes and year-end planning? There's a lot more to it. I think today I wanted to talk about the folks with money in IRAs and 401ks and stuff like that. Anything else?
Yeah, there's also other strategies for somebody who says, I may need all of that money. I may not want to give it away just to receive a tax break. Right?
Yeah.
I may need that. I don't know what my future holds. I don't know what 10 years or 20 years of my future looks like. Can I do something else to preserve my legacy down to the next generation? Use life insurance, because life insurance is tax-free. So we can find a little bit of money coming out of the IRA now that you buy some life insurance with. We don't fix the tax problem in the IRA.
Right.
But what it does is we buy enough life insurance that when I pass away, if there's money left in that bucket, the IRA bucket, the life insurance comes in and pays the bill you were going to pay the IRS, and you preserve those dollars for your legacy plan. So it works for people who have abundant resources works for people who have more of a modest amount of resources. There's a strategy for just about anyone. We have to put a strategy in place.
Yeah. And it just depends on, I mean, like you said, everybody's situation is different.
Totally.
You know, I think it needs to be looked at. So if you're listening or watching this, like think through your situation, talk to somebody about it. Think about what's not going to happen, not necessarily today, but think about what's going to happen out here in the future. You know, someone passes away, if you're married, required minimum distribution rolls around,
Yep.
Those different things. Because someone passes away, probably a loss of income, probably going up in taxes.
Yeah, by a single tax rate, so it's a double whammy.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree.
And you got a chapter in your book about taxes too, right?
I do. Yeah. Again, if you want a copy of the book, let us know. We'll get you a copy. I will sign a copy for you. But there's an entire chapter in here on how you should be efficient with your tax plan.
All right. So any closing thoughts on taxation?
Yeah, I think there's a window of opportunity in front of us. We know
Yes.
that. We have until January 1st of 2026 before the tax law expires. Now, here's what people hear when I say that. Oh, I got a couple of years. No, we didn't. No, we do not.
Yeah.
We've got to plan this year. We have to plan next year. We have to plan the following year up to 2026 and take advantage of those tax years. Because remember, December 31st every year, we start over.
Man, I feel like we started preaching this whole tax message yesterday.
Years ago, long time ago, yeah.
Right? And it went by like that. And
Yeah,
now all of a
because-
sudden it's like, oh,
Here we are.
2025 is here.
Yeah, we're
it's
on.
going to be
we're
here
in front of it.
soon.
We used to say that all the time that the future gets here tomorrow, and my gosh, you wake up one day and look what's in front of us. There's a tax increase looming. I can almost see it out there now.
Yeah.
National debt is over $33 trillion. That's
Mhm.
incredible. We're going up $250,000 a second
Yep.
in national debt. Try to wrap your minds around that one. That's incredible.
So what is that? That's debtclock.org, right?
Debtclock.org. It's a free public website. It's not ours, but you can go out to it and you can see what we're talking about. There's deficits, there's debt, and the difference between the two of them is deficit means we've sent money to Washington, they spend more, we send them. That's a deficit. And so what happens to debt? They just got to borrow to keep the country running, and we're just in a difficult time. So you need to take action now to protect your family.
Yeah. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the married filing jointly tax brackets, the 12% goes to 15 in 2017.
Or excuse me, yes, 2026, correct, yes.
The 22 goes to 24 or 28?
I don't recall those. It's about a 20% increase
Yeah.
across the board.
Okay.
Think about that.
Yep.
That's a 20% tax increase.
I know.
That's incredible, on top of what we're already paying.
And that's going to happen without a stroke of a pen. And then my belief, your belief is that because of the things you just mentioned, usdebtclock.org, taxes have to go up from there.
They do. Otherwise, you can't operate an infrastructure. You can't operate a military. You can't operate social programs like Social Security and Medicare. We have to have a tax increase and potentially a benefit cut in the future.
Yeah. The good news is, though, we got a couple years to work on it, right? There's strategies out there to help minimize it.
We got to do it now.
You got to pay the taxes that you're due, but let's not pay a penny more. So start doing some planning, some year-end planning, figure out where you're at tax-wise, and go from there, right?
Yep. Yes and amen.
All right. You ready for the final the little segment that we wrap up with this week in history?
Go.
You're a brain trust. You probably know. Got any
Fire away.
ideas?
No, I don't.
Really? This week in history, 1870.
I wasn't around yet. Contrary to what you might think, I was not here.
The New York Times dubs baseball the national game.
Baseball is my game.
The first Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade was held in New York City, and it became an American tradition,
Hey,
especially known for its huge balloons.
I've been there.
Have you really?
If you haven't been to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, let me just plug that for you. You got to do that. That's a once in a lifetime. That's a bucket lister.
Has my wife been there?
She is not.
Okay, just you. That and they introduced the big balloons in 1927.
Okay.
1982, American singer songwriter Michael Jackson released what song?
I'm gonna go with Thriller.
You nailed it.
Was it really?
Yeah,
I
Thriller.
was alive then.
Which became the best-selling album in
There was
the
nobody
world.
bigger than Michael Jackson in 1982. That was when the moonwalk happened.
Yeah.
Still
Anyways.
can't do it. 40 years
How
later.
about that for
That's pretty good
some
history.
useless knowledge, as we call it, right?
Totally useless knowledge. Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for listening in. Look
thanks.
forward to seeing you next time on Your Retirement Blueprint.
Take care.
See you then.